What's going on, guys? Welcome to another edition of Flowology Thursdays. This is a special edition, as all of them normally are. And we are live with the crew. We have alumnus that are here. It's just funny that I currently have students in, and they'll show up when they can. I'm not going to even, they're going to see this on replay, hopefully, but they show up when they can. And I know life is busy. So, but we have Dr. Tim Golden, PhD / Esquire / thespian as the actor that he is. And we have him on today's Flowology Thursdays. And you guys are familiar with Tim because every week on Fridays, he drops strategies, gems, techniques, different ways that we can grow as a speaker. And he's been doing them for weeks on out. I'm actually going to give him a little break for the next several weeks moving forward, because I'm doing some revamping inside my program. So if he doesn't get on these next several weeks, I might have to get on. So it's all right. Y'all hear enough of me, but it's good to also hear another perspective from a speaker who is currently standing up multiple times a week to give lectures, to give sermons, to give speeches, to give talks, to even sometimes defend clients in court. So this is Tim Golden. Hear ye him. What's going on, Tim? How you doing?
Hey, Jason, thank you, man. Thank you so much for all them kind words you said about me, all those nice things you said. And I appreciate you. I appreciate being part of the Speakers Mechanic team. And I am blessed and humbled to be here with you and Courtney and Michelle and Demetrius. So hello to all. And thank you, Jason. I appreciate you having me.
No problem. So we're just going to get right into it. I have a bunch of questions that I want to ask, but they're all in the realm of you being a communicator. You already know as what I do with my students and my clients. My job is to help to bring the best out of them. I believe we all have a more excellent, that means a growing excellence, a striving, if you will, that's inside of us that wants to do better when it comes to just articulating who we are and those things that we are passionate about. And me knowing you as a friend, you are a friend first and foremost to me, but I also know you as a friend who has many passions, and you have demonstrated those things to me over the lifetime of our relationship. And you have also, told me about some of those things that I haven't been privy to actually watch. But as you've told me those things, you've often told me from a place of passion. So I've witnessed it firsthand, and you in actual work speaking, and I've also experienced it as a friend and a brother. So I want to kind of share that with those who are listening tonight or watching tonight, but I also want to share that for those who will be listening in the future. So Tim, give us an idea, and I might, if you don't mind being vulnerable, I might go in places you might not expect. Like I said, I have ideas. That's and okay. I just want to touch on these things to let other people know kind of where you came from, because I believe you're a really, really inspirational dude to me. And I know that you are to other people, and I really want that to shine through tonight. So I'm gonna go way back, bro. I want to ask you about, and this is something, I don't know, like I said, that you don't often talk about, but you told me, and I don't think it was in confidential. You were just telling me a story, but you're an overcomer. So tell me a little bit about when you were young and you had a speech teacher, or you were having challenges when it came to you being able to talk and communicate the way you wanted to. Talk to me about the experience going in, the part that was during the experience, the process of during, and then afterwards, because I think that's where we see a lot of victory and kind of maybe the start of you being the communicator that you are today?
Well, thanks again, Jason. So I appreciate that. Well, if we go back, if I go back all the way to when I was a child, a young boy growing up in Philadelphia, I had a severe speech impediment that was twofold. I stuttered and I spoke with a lisp. And it was really pronounced. It was so bad that I can remember all the way back to when I was about 4. I can't go back further than that, but I remember being 4 years old and having real difficulty and experiencing a visceral sensation that made it hard for me to get my words out. It was almost as though my words were in the pit of my stomach, but there was a lid on top of them that prevented them from coming out. And I knew what I wanted to say. I could think what I wanted to say, but there was something that prevented the free flow of my ideas from my mind to my mouth. And somehow or another, the other parts of my body were connected to it, because it just became an overall feeling of fear and trepidation and nervousness and butterflies whenever I was asked to speak my own ideas. Interestingly, the one time I didn't have a problem speaking was when I was asked to read aloud in class. I was raised Catholic, and I went to Catholic school as a kid in Philadelphia. I was a part of a parish called the Church of the Immaculate Conception. And I remember being in first grade and second grade, and I remember being called upon to read passages in class, and I had no problem reading what other people's ideas were, but I had a problem articulating my own ideas. So my mother, being the good parent that she was, my mother and father, both of them collaborated. And fortunately for me, one of my teachers, a nun, named Sister Elaine Marie, was also a licensed speech pathologist who specialized in working with children who had speech impediments, especially little boys, because stuttering tends to be more common in boys than it does in girls. So for 3 years, I used to call it Saturday school. I went every Saturday and spent 2 hours with Sister Elaine. And Sister Elaine took me through, and she took me through the physiology of speaking. She told me there was no need for me to be nervous or upset. If I had something to say, that I could just say it. And with the patience of a saint, with the patience of Job, she worked with me from the time I was about age 6 until I was age 9. And it's interesting that throughout the time I was with her, she would say things to me like, one day, Timothy, a lot of people are going to want to hear everything you have to say. And I just want you to think about that one day as we talk and go through our exercises. And she would give me tongue twisters to work on my lisp. And she would give me breathing exercises to help me with my speaking anxiety. And by the time I was 9 years old, it was gone. And my confidence shot through the roof. I now wanted to talk about everything. I would go home and say to my mom, hey, mom, let's talk. Mommy, let's talk. She said, what you want to talk about? I said, anything, because I can talk about anything now. Wow. Sister Elaine taught me how to talk, and I can talk now. And so it was a wonderful experience at that age. And I think because I was so determined to overcome that, that's the one thing that I began to see that I could maybe do really well if I pushed myself. And there's a psychological theory that says the thing that we have a hard time overcoming as children is the one thing that we may end up being very good at doing as adults. And so from 9 until about 15, I became very proficient. I remember looking words up in the dictionary, especially words with the letter S, so that I could say them without lisping. I remember looking up big words and wanting to learn what they meant. And so, along with my speaking, my vocabulary improved, my cognitive skills improved. And then when I was in high school, I was president of the Black Student Union, and I gave an address during Black History Month. And I remembered all I did was take the microphone off of the stand and hold it, and the whole auditorium erupted with, oh, like, boy, he's about to tell us. People were saying, go ahead, man, tell it, man. And in that moment, I realized that speaking was a real power. And how was I going to use it? If I had gotten proficient with speech, that moment when I was in high school taught me that I can use this and harness this to do some really good things. So I got to college, I got involved in oratorical competitions my freshman year. I succeeded. And from that point on, I just tried to look for opportunities that would give me a chance to do what Sister Elaine told me I would do, which is one day talk in front of a lot of people who were interested in what I had to say. And when I got to college, it was almost a no-brainer that I was going to be a lawyer because I wanted to stand in front of judges and juries. And so now today, I get up every day, 4 days a week, and I stand in front of large groups of students and I teach class, I give lectures, and that's what I do for a living. So that's my backstory, and that's how I got to where I am now. So I'll always be grateful to Sister Elaine Marie for the time that she invested in me, and to my father and my mother for recognizing my problem and not allowing it to go unaddressed.
Tim, beautiful, beautiful, beautiful story. Beautiful story. And also very inspirational. You just touching on the fact that you were making this effort of saying, this is something that this, and I don't know to what extent you felt this as a kid, but it was just like, this is a skill I can get better with. And I don't think there's many things that's beautiful. There's many things that are beautiful about your story, but I think one of the most beautiful thing is someone believed in you, and with not only believed in you, they made a declaration over your life. And let this resonate with everybody. Each one of you guys have already come to me saying, Jason, I see myself doing this. And it was my job. It is always my job to affirm that. You know, Demetrius, you've come to me and you've had visions that, whether it's been an individual or you heard it in a dream, and God has said, I see you up front. Michelle, you in the same way. And Courtney, you with your pedigree of always having speakers around you with your dad being a pastor in that nature. Like God has put in us a vision to do and to speak before, and has given us a voice to actually proclaim that purpose that he's put inside of you. And just like Tim's teacher, of course, I want to encourage you guys and just highly persuade, if I can, that you guys are not finished with me. You guys are still reaching towards that destination, because you too will sit in seats where people where droves of people will be listening to your message, just like that whole vision and idea of what the Mary's sister, what's her name? did.
Sister Elaine Marie.
Sister Elaine Marie did for Tim, because it's amazing, because to know Tim, not just as a friend, but definitely professionally, that's what he does. He goes out and a lot of people listen to him and they hear him, and he's been doing this for years. And it's not just in the courtroom. or classroom, it's before, packed not stadiums, not yet at least, right? But rooms,
I haven't had a stadium yet, but hey,
rooms and arenas. But you
yeah.
guys have the same thing declared on you. Let me ask this, because of time with this, like we could probably do a part two, and we may do this. But let me ask you this, and this is something that you guys can take down. And I'm kind of putting you on the spot. I'm looking at our time, but I'm looking. I want to inspire, but I also, and you have with your story, Tim. If you look in the comments, you've had some shout outs to your story. If you look in the chat room,
Okay.
And
Yeah.
and Michelle, you're right.
Thank you,
Stuttering as a
Michelle.
kid, yeah.
Thank you.
The let's. I always talk about and teach the idea of learning and getting the information in, but the information is no good unless we have practical steps to apply what we're learning, right? So what I want to ask you, Tim, in this brief time that we have, someone asked you to give an impromptu speech on tomorrow. How do you organize that? And I'm talking about 15, 20 minutes. And for some people, and maybe for me and those who are listening now, those who are on now, or those who will listen in the future, that can be a source of anxiety. And some of that anxiety is a lack of, some of that anxiety can come from a lack of preparation and where to begin with putting together. And I call it an impromptu, but it's kind of, you have maybe some time to prepare yourself. Maybe it's not tomorrow, maybe it's right now, and you're put on the spot, to say, to organize what you're going to say. Like, come on, let's be honest. I didn't tell you what I was going to talk to you about tonight, and you were able to kind of just go on for at least however long about what you experienced. So, and this is why I love being in relationship with you, because I get to pick your brain as a speaker, because a lot of this stuff you just do, I know, and you don't even think about it. But I'm asking, since you and I have been doing this for a while, I've been getting you to really think about the mechanisms, if you will, that you put in place to do something that we see as can be an ordeal, that a lot of people can see as an ordeal, and you make it really simple and organic when it comes to a speaking idea. So if you're going to put together impromptu speech or last minute speech or talk, let's call it a talk, I like using that word. How do you organize, and what's your framework of saying what you're going to say in a very simple way to make sure that those who are listening to you can grasp everything they need to know about what you're going to share with them? Just make it simple.
Sure. Well, my framework is to do something that can be done extemporaneously, but still be done in a structured way. So I have to achieve spontaneity without doing it at the expense of structure. So there's a balance to be struck. It's obviously going to be spontaneous. And if I have only 15 to 20 minutes in my head, what I would do is work through a time budget of, let's say, 3 points for the body of the speech. That would be each point about 5 minutes, and then about 2.5 minutes to introduce the topic, and another 2.5 minutes to summarize. So I would probably go through that process first, and then I would think, okay, I'm going to have these 5 parts: an intro, a body with 3 points, and a conclusion. And then I'm going to start to say, the next important thing to do is to find out what's the topic, which I would automatically know when the person asked me. So, for instance, right now, if you said to me the word politics, and
Mm-hmm.
you said, Tim, I want you to talk about politics for the next 20 minutes. The
Mm-hmm.
first thing I would do is figure out a way to fit that topic into this 5-point structure. And the intro is basically saying what I'm going to say. Each of the 3 points is saying it. And
Mm-hmm.
then the summary is saying what I've said. This mirrors the process of writing.
Mm-hmm.
So, as a lawyer, writing and speech are two things that I have to do well.
Right.
My profession demands that of me.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you said politics to me, the first thing I would think of would be maybe Democrat, Republican, division, and then division and unity,
Mm-hmm.
right? So those three things would be in the body of the talk. And then
Mm-hmm.
in the intro of the talk, the body of the talk would essentially be about how our politics is divided. Both the Democratic left and the Republican right have created polarizing relationships with one another so that nothing gets done in Washington. And in order to achieve unity and overcome this division, we have to figure out a common ground.
Got it.
And so that would be in my head. And so I would start by describing that for a couple minutes and telling you what I'm going to say. Then I would spend 5 minutes on the Democratic left, another 5 minutes on the Republican right, another 5 minutes on the importance of unity and overcoming division in public policy. And then in the last 2.5 minutes, I would summarize. That's the process that I would try to go through as quickly as possible to prepare myself to achieve spontaneity without sacrificing structure.
No, no. So I love that. And I want you guys to hear the part where he said, where Tim talks about that is something that I want to do in the fastest way possible. Because a lot of times when you speak and you become what I've learned as a SME, a subject matter expert, right? A SME, a subject matter expert. It's when you have that knowledge and you're given a topic, you can probably talk a lot longer than you first anticipated. But when you have a structure, you get to hang on to those guidelines, and then, like Tim said, kind of itemize the time segments as if you were rationing out money from a wallet. How long am I going to spend said time to make up this 15 to 20 minutes? Because you're right, that time will go by really fast when it's time to get up and you have all this information in your head, and you can just, without the structure, it could be called, like I like to call it verbal diarrhea. This person is just up there, they just they just talking. Now the tangential is you're going off to different, there's a subject, but you're going off on different branches, if you will, of that subject matter, and it just seems like a hodgepodge of, it's like I said, verbal diarrhea, or almost like vomiting out information without any type of recourse or structure. So that was very good. Of course, there might be a little bit more. Our time is getting close. There was another question I wanted to ask you, and this might be our final one until I bring you back again. Hint, hint.
I'll be here next week. As long as you need me to come back, I'm here for you, Jason.
That's my guy. So those of us who are listening, we're all speakers in our own right, and we're all growing in our own right. We have podcasters, specifically 2 podcasters on, and Demetrius is a speaker. Like, he goes out, he's going to, he has conversations and talks in front of people. What is the 1 or 2 things that you do to prepare yourself most when you are going to speak before individuals that, where you're trying to walk away, maybe to impact or change their lives? Like, what do you focus on to, like, what is that opportunity? Where's your mindset and your heart as you go before someone wanting to impact somebody, if you can feel me on that?
So yeah, so there's 4 points. There's audience, there's form, there's content, and there's delivery. And I begin with audience. What I'm going to say and how I'm going to say it is going to depend on who is listening, because communication is as much about what we hear as it is about what we say. And so if the occasion calls for inspiration, for example, about 3 years ago, before the pandemic, I was invited to speak to a church school in Atlanta and give the baccalaureate address for their graduates who were graduating and heading off to college. And I had to figure out a way to inspire them. So whatever your audience is, whoever your audience is, you have to come up with a verb that will drive everything you do in your speech. For me, for the graduation baccalaureate address, the verb was inspire. I have to inspire these kids to go on to do great things in college and beyond. And sometimes if you're asked to speak to a church group, a church crowd, you're about inspiration. Sometimes for me, on an everyday basis, I'm there to inform. So I have to think about what I need to do to maximize the impact on my audience, depending on why the audience is there and what my function is as a speaker. So first thing is to come up with a verb that best describes your mission in that talk. Then form and content is this dynamic between spontaneity and substance. You always want to achieve a good balance of that. By spontaneity, what I mean is you want to prepare as much as you can, but when you deliver your remarks, you don't want to give the impression that they have been prepared. Right? So you have to find a way to prepare for what it is you have to say, but then you have to find a way to say it so that people don't think that you're reading to them. You have to say it in a way that doesn't compromise the inspiration. Now, if you're in a more dry academic setting like me, I'm not there always to inspire, but even in informational talks, there can be moments that you can find in the moment of speaking that you may say to yourself, I got a window here that I can use to inspire people, and I'm going to go ahead and jump through that window. Right. So you have to allow yourself to see the nuances within your speech, even though it may call for informing. There may be moments, for example, during your talk when you can inspire. So you want to allow yourself that space for spontaneity, but at the same time, you don't want to compromise structure. You want to make sure you have a clear structure, because I tell my students when they write, before I give them a writing assignment, I say to them, how many of you would drive a car without a steering wheel? And no one raises their hand. And when I ask them why, their response is, well, because if I got in the car without a steering wheel, I would be everywhere except where I needed to be. And I say that's what writing is like if you write without a thesis statement. A thesis statement is the steering wheel of your essay, and a good outline that you stick to is the steering wheel of your speech. You have a thesis, you have a main idea, something you're trying to get across, and you stay with that within the confines of a structure But even within that structure, you're able to find room to wiggle a little bit and find nuances and find opportunities for increased levels of vulnerability, increased levels of spontaneity, for the ability to draw from other subjects that might not be directly relevant, but you can make them relevant through the use of examples. And so that those are the first three things, right? You have audience, come up with a verb. You have spontaneity in terms of your content. You have structure in terms of your form. And last but not least, you want to make sure that your delivery is good. Jason, I'm sure you'll appreciate this nod to what you do: vocal warm-ups, facial stretches, diaphragm exercises, because the delivery of speaking is about physicality. It is a physical endeavor. It's a bodily movement. You have to get your mind and your mouth on the same page. And you have to do all of that in a way that comes off to the audience like, I could roll this person out of bed at 3 o'clock in the morning and they could talk like this, because if you leave them feeling that way, they're going to invite you back. And next time they may give you an even bigger honorarium. So those are the things to think about. When I think of delivery, I think of the physicality of speaking, the warm-up exercises, and the exercises to get rid of nervous energy. So before you go up, if you feel nervous, I think I talked about this, you shake your hands. A lot of the energy and the nervous energy in our body can exit through our extremities, right? So the shaking of your hands, and maybe standing on one leg and shaking your foot and shaking your leg and so forth, back and forth. Those are the things that will help calm you, relax you. And I guess I could say the last thing is, in terms of delivery, just trust yourself. Know that you have done the work, know that you have prepared, and be good enough to yourself to believe that you can do it. And if you do that, you'll be great. So just to summarize, I would say, know your audience, come up with a verb, have good content, have good form, and have good delivery. Release your negative energy, focus on your physical preparation, and you will knock it out of the park every time.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Guys, we can't ask for anything more. That's just pure D good stuff. And it's more than stuff. Listen, hopefully you guys wrote this down. You know it's going to go up into the platform. I also want to just let you guys know I will be changing the platform, but it's not like I won't let y'all know about it, because I'll be using another one, but I'll be informing you about when I change it. But yes, Tim, great message, Michelle says, and this is something to apply. The things that we talk about, of course, I want to inform and to inspire you here, but I also want to give you practical application that what Tim has said, you guys can put this in anything you do, whether you're standing up on stage or you're behind a microphone and you're speaking. This is what we all can do on a daily basis. And here's the thing, when you practice doing this, and that's why you guys all have platforms. Michelle, definitely, and Courtney, you guys have your podcast, and Demetrius, you're doing ET's, Eric Thomas's speakers platform right now, and you're getting in front of people. The more you practice this, like, just get opportunities, get your reps up, As good as I believe you are now, you can be eons better as you just get your reps in. And it doesn't have to be pretty, it doesn't have to be cute. You will just get better the more you do it. And it will become, like I've often taught you, and Tim has too, it will become muscle memory, or you will reach a stage of mastery, if you will, where it just becomes intuitive. Like me doing flowology tonight, like I said, I prepared in my brain, But I'm telling you, if this was my first time ever doing this type of thing, it would be a little bit clunky. It would be clunky. It just would be clunky because I wouldn't have done it before. But because I make a practice of trying to do this more, and one day I'll even get to the point where you can call, I'm just like Tim and I'm just speaking every day, but I don't want to be a professor. But this is my professor stage. And I get to teach and do these type of things. But the point is, the more you get your reps in, the better you guys will be. So don't hold yourself hostage to perfection. Just start letting it fly. And it ain't gonna be cute and pretty. Just let it fly and keep doing it and watch yourself grow. And it's the beauty of the growth and the journey with these techniques and strategies. You guys will soar. You guys will soar. And I love being a part of your lives and seeing the process and listening to where you guys are in your process and watching it grow. So if you guys have any questions, I'd love to hear them, Tim, even right now. If not, we already coming into our 7:15 hour. So, or 8:15 hour, depends on where you are.
Jason, if I could just interject here, and I want to follow up on something you said. And folks, if y'all have questions, I'm more than happy to linger and answer them. So please don't be shy if you want to ask me something or have something to comment on. I'm all ears for that. I just want to echo what you said, Jason, because as speakers, especially if you're just starting out and this is something that you aspire to do, you have to look for opportunities to do it. Mm-hmm. And that means at family gatherings, at somebody's wedding, if somebody asks you to give a toast or to say a word or two, welcome that. Embrace that as a chance for you to build on your skills. Mm-hmm. So it doesn't always have to be in a professional setting. Maybe you're part of a book club with your friends and you are getting together and they need somebody to lead the book discussion, to maybe spend 5 or 10 minutes at the beginning of the book club meeting to say, okay, folks, this is why we're here tonight. That is helping you develop the skills. If you're members of a church and you're asked to maybe go up front and give a prayer or say something in regards to an announcement of something that's happening at the church, take every opportunity that you can, because every one of those small opportunities, as Jason nicely pointed out, builds your confidence. It builds your confidence. It builds your stamina. It builds your competence. And it puts you in the position to do bigger things. And the bigger things will come in the form of invitations. Oh, we want you to come give a talk on such and such to this group, to this Chamber of Commerce. I believe everyone in here is an entrepreneur. And as entrepreneurs, you're going to be looking for ways to maximize your impact. And that means that whatever speaking opportunity comes your way, I think you ought to really, really make sure you take advantage of it, because that's going to help propel you to newer and higher heights of your speaking career. So I just wanted to re-emphasize what Jason said, because everything might not come to you in the big package at first. Sometimes it comes in small packages, but you open up enough small packages, there's a big one that's going to be on your front doorstep real soon.
True. And I'll just say this as we close down. As those opportunities come, you're going to feel something in your body. You're going to also feel something in your heart and in your brain as to how does that thing relate to me? And based on what Tim just said, this is how it relates to you. And you will always have a choice. Do I go to it or do I run from it? Or even if you're not running from it, do I walk away from it? If someone had the gumption to say, can you do this in a form of speaking? If someone had the gumption or something was placed on someone else to approach you to do something where you had to open up about yourself or open up about the situation, whether it's a wedding, whether it's being up front in church, or whether it's speaking to a group, or whether it's leading in some type of way, or facilitating, being the talker after investments that you guys have put. If someone has been placed, so someone has placed you on their heart and mind to do certain things, all I'm saying, I believe all Tim is saying, is embrace it. It might feel a little bit weird. It might feel a little, you're going to feel something in your body. Embrace that too. And then do some of the techniques that we've talked about in order to kind of shake yourself from it. And Tim and I are always here when it comes to any of that stuff. So that's what we got.
Well, if anybody has any questions or comments, I'm happy to take them.
This bunch is not this bunch is not necessarily the question comments. However, they will give you your due, your just due, as far as appreciation for what you've done. So they know I'm not trying to hold them. Y'all know where to find us. You know us on Volley. If you want to shout us out or ask any questions, come find us. I really appreciate the time that you guys spend with us. I really appreciate your own personal investment in yourself. This is not a television show. We're not entertaining. Y'all hop on here, not for me or Tim. Y'all hop on here for you. And that gives me goosebumps even as I speak, because you're trying to be better. You're trying to be better. One of the things that I live by, trying to be better today than you were yesterday. And sometimes it's just incremental growth, but over time, when you look back, you get to see the distance and you get to see your growth. So I appreciate you guys. I love your spirits. I love what you guys are doing. And it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to be in relationship with you guys. And community, we're about to go do a podcast. So we'll see y'all later. Y'all have a good night.
Yeah.